Okay, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the principle of angular momentum and impulse. So we already talked about the linear impulse and momentum. We already defined it. You guys can watch other videos to see about that one. But in this case, we're doing something similar where we want to maintain the impulse, in this case, when our particles are moving in a curvilinear trajectory. So we define the angular momentum of a particle about point O, as you see on the screen. And this is defined as the moment of the particle's linear momentum about O. So the moment of momentum, that's what we are doing here. So the formula for this one, we're going to be writing here, is the angular momentum of a point O, which is in the z-axis. Notice we have the right-hand rule right there wrapping around the z-axis, right? This is equals to the distance from the z-axis times the momentum. So this is in scalar form, right? Or we can write it as, in vector form, that the angle is equals to, or not the angle, but the angular momentum is equals to the cross product of the position by our vector r times the momentum right there. Of course, with velocity and the position are treated as vectors. And when that happens, we can do, as we said, the cross product. So we are going to do the cross product in the I, J, and K, right? For, in this case, a 3-axis, where we're going to have here will be the position in X, the position in Y, the position in Z, those vectors. And here we have the mass times velocity in the X. We have also mass times velocity in the Y and mass times velocity in the Z. You guys already know how to do a cross product. Hopefully you guys are learning from other courses such as calculus or statics. So there shouldn't be any difficulty about how to find a cross product. Remember, every time we find the cross product, we do on top plus, minus, plus. And then the result of the cross product is also a vector. So the angular momentum right here, it's also a vector. Okay, so notice once again, this is what we do for the angular momentum. So it's pretty similar to what we did before, all right? Where we can do then that if we do the sum of moments about point O, this have to be equals to the derivative of the angular momentum of a point O. And you can see there, right, with the derivative of the angular momentum with respect to time is, it's a derivative of the position times mass times velocity, where we're going to get something similar to, moments or forces. So you can find the derivation in the book. I'm not going to go through it, but this is basically how they are related. So using this equation right here, we can then, rearrange these things, and we can write that the summation of the moments of a point O from T1 to T2, and integrating with respect to T, it's equals to the change in momentum or angular momentum from state 2 to state 1. So writing this in a different way, it's gonna result in the principle of angular momentum and impulse, similar to what we had before with the linear impulse and momentum. So momentum at state 1 plus the sum of impulses, in this case by the moments integrated with respect to time from T1 to T2, it is equal to the angular momentum at state 2. So this is once again the equation for the principle of angular momentum and impulse. And once again, because this is a vector, we can break it down into its components. So if we keep here the angular impulse, so in this case, if you just focus on the angular impulse, notice this is the sum of the integral from T1 to T2 of the moment from point O with respect to T, which is equals to the integral from T1 to T2 of R cross product a force dt. All right, so the cross product of a distance perpendicular to a force, right? That's basically what a moment is. You probably seen this already from statics. And this is for moments that are variable. If we have in the case where this is a scalar, then we can define the moment as or not the moment, but well, the impulse as equals to some radius or some distance r times a force times a change in time. And this is how we do not the moment itself, but the angular impulse. And once again, we also have here the conservation of angular momentum. It will still be try to be kept. So the moment, the angular momentum at state 1 must equals to the angular momentum at state 2, considering that there are no non-conservative forces in our system. So if we have only conservative forces, right, acting in our system, then angular momentum can be conserved. So state 1 and state 2, they will have the same angular momentum. We can apply the equations that we did in the previous videos. And similarly, in the principle of angular impulse and momentum, we can divide it into its corresponding vectors in the x, y, or in this case we have x and y, and then the angular momentum in the z directions we see right there. All right, so let's do a problem so that we can see how this happens for our systems. Okay, in this video, all we're doing is they're asking us to figure out the angular momentum of a particle about point P. So they are giving us the information right here. We have the mass of this particle is 2 kilograms. We see that it has a velocity or magnitude of velocity of 15 meters per second. And that's all the information that we can get from the problem, but there's other stuff that we can obtain also from here. So notice we can obtain, since we are determining the position of the particle from point P, then if we do a straight line from A to P, we can then write its position as a vector. So its position r, it's equals over here to, from point P to A, that is negative 5I, right? And then plus 2J, right? Going from P to R. Okay, so similarly, we can break up its components of velocity. So notice we can break up the velocity, Vx. So what is the component of velocity? So notice we have an angle that is acting right there, so that's 30 degrees. So Vx, we're going to have that this is equals to 15 times sine of 30. Or in this case, it will be negative 15, right? Because it's acting in the, we're saying that that's the negative x direction. So that's negative 15 sine of 30. So this is equals to negative 7.5 meters per second. That's the component in the x direction. And then its component Vy, right? Its component Vy will then be right here. This is 15 cosine of 30. And this is approximately 13 meters per second. Okay, so if you remember the formula for momentum, or if we do it here, right, because we said that the angular momentum is r cross product mv. So doing here, if we find the momentum p, or sometimes defined as L, and v, this is equals to the 2 kilograms times the velocity in the x and the y direction. So that is minus 7.5 I plus 13 J in meters per second. So that way our units are kilograms meters per second. So we're going to get out of here, this equals to negative 15I plus 26J kilogram meters per second. Also the units for momentum. Okay, so now we find the angular momentum of a point P. So angular momentum of a point P, this is equal once again to the cross product. So we have I, J, K. First we gotta put our coordinates. So we have negative 5 in the I for the R. We have 2 in the J, 0 in the K, and for velocity or for the momentum we have negative 15 we have 26, and we have 0. So don't forget the plus minus plus. So doing the cross product right here, we are going to obtain, so this will be starting in the j direction, so this will be 2 times 0, right, minus 0 times 26 in the I direction, minus, this will be negative 5 times 0, and then this will be minus 0 times negative 15 in the j direction, plus in the k direction that will be negative 5 times 26 minus 2 times negative 15 in the k direction. So notice how all of these terms, they go to 0, 0, 0, 0. So we have zeros in the I and j's, and the only term that we'll have will be in the k direction. So when you get all of these values, this is equal to, over here we'll get negative 130. This will be minus minus negative plus 30 in the k, or this equals to negative 100k in the kilograms meters per second, or meters squares per second, right? Those are the units. So our angular momentum of a point P, it's equals to 100 kilograms meters squared per second. In this case will be clockwise, because we have the negative k, so that is a clockwise rotation about point P. And you can tell right from here, if this velocity is upwards, and from point P it will seem like it wants to do a clockwise rotation. So that makes sense. That's how we find the angular momentum. And now we're going to do a problem where we have to apply the principle of angular momentum and impulse.